Imagine a spherical version of the pyramids, one that is even taller than the Pyramid of Giza, situated somewhere in this world. Interestingly, plans were made to bring this idea of a magnificent spherical pyramid to life, and it might have been one of the most talked about incredible projects. Some other crazy ideas have been proposed back in the day, and while some were not practical, others were affected by financial constraints. Let us take a look at some of the craziest mega projects that never happened. Number 5. The Dream Airport, New York. It is not an uncommon thing to find the craziest, largest, and especially the tallest skylines in New York. What would be more jaw-dropping is a project like this, a rooftop airport that is larger than anything anyone had ever seen back then. Upon the announcement of the project, all people could do was imagine just how magnificent the structure of the project would look. In 1946, one of New York's most successful real estate developers suggested the idea that a rooftop airport be built right in the middle of Manhattan. Situated along the shores of the Hudson River, this mega structure was named New York Dream Airport, and it would cover a total length of 144 Manhattan blocks and would be accompanied by a 70 meters high deck, roughly the size of Central Park. The plan consisted of a series of 10-story buildings which were to be constructed below the deck for waiting areas, ticket offices, and inclusive of small buildings. The airport would not only accommodate aircraft, but would also include piers for ships from the Hudson River and also roads and railways structured underneath the platform. The total project was estimated to cost $3 billion back then, and we are pretty sure it would have been the biggest airport infrastructure of all time. What sparked the proposal of this project? In the 1940s, New York had terrible traffic congestion issues, and seeing as all of its main airports were situated outside of Manhattan, getting to those transit points proved time-consuming and difficult. It was then decided that the Midtown Airport be constructed to ease the journey for travelers. This would have been a big change in New York, assuming the plans were carried out. One thing is for sure, some of the skyscrapers you now see in New York City might have never existed, or maybe would have been built elsewhere. The Hudson River, for example, is situated right in the area where the Dream Airport was to be constructed. The next question that comes to your mind now is, why was the airport not constructed? First of all, an airport right in the middle of the world's busiest city would have been the worst for residents in the area. For an airport that was designed to accommodate 68 flights per hour, Manhattan residents would go crazy with the sound coming from the busy airport. This would also add to the traffic issues, as a lot of the people would swarm the Midtown Airport, causing more traffic than before in the area. But that's not all. Engineers would also have a hard time demolishing all the structures within a 144-block radius. We see why this project had to have been halted, as it would have more likely been the most complicated one ever. Number 4. Project Hotel ATRAXION. Still in the city of skylines, which is New York, if you don't get the reference, here is another exceptional project from the early 1900s when skyscrapers were starting to become a thing in New York City. In 1908, the Singer Building was the first skyscraper to extend the height of 150 meters. It would be followed by giants like the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building. While New York developers were doing their thing with skyscrapers, a renowned Spanish architect, Antonio Gaudí, displayed a different architectural style across the Atlantic Ocean, which no one has ever witnessed. His exceptional designs, which paid attention to detail, include buildings like Casa Batilio and Casa Mila, which were based on Catalan culture and incredible nature. Nothing of the sort had ever been seen in New York City, but highly appreciated by New York developers. This is why 2 businessmen traveled to Barcelona in 1908 to seek this talented architect and convince him to create a similar masterpiece named Hotel ATRAXION in New York City. Gaudí, who bought the idea, then proposed the construction of a grand hotel that would reach 360 meters into the sky. Alabaster glass and tiles would be plastered on the exterior of the hotel, while its interior would contain restaurants, an exhibition center, theaters, and concert halls. This was an unprecedented project that would also take years to complete, but Gaudí's talent was being relied on to do an amazing job. However, Gaudí's plans never saw the light of day because he had already dedicated his life to another project in Barcelona, the Sagrada Familia, which he would work on for 43 years of his life. The construction of Hotel ATRAXION required Gaudí to be in New York physically, and this he couldn't do because of the Sagradia project. The Hotel ATRAXION would later be revived in 2003, when a group of Spanish architects would submit the design for the new World Trade Design Center competition. Gaudí's sketches remain until this day, but we doubt they'll ever be built. But if it was, it would surely be marked as history's most attractive buildings. Number 3. The Chicago Spire. Here we have Chicago's tallest skyscraper, which was surprisingly even more realistic to achieve. Close to 50 years after the initial proposal of the building, the Chicago Spire was to become the tallest skyscraper in the country, and would have kept that record until this day. The design of the building was sketched by yet another popular Spanish architect, Santiago Calatrava, who had designed other exceptional projects like the World Trade Center Transportation Hub. Originally proposed in 2005, the Chicago Spire was given to Garrett Keller to begin construction under the Shelburne Corporation. The tower would have had a slender, curved design and a height of 610 meters. The construction began in 2007, but had to be halted later on when the Great Recession struck during the mid-2000s. The project's major financer was an Anglo-Irish bank that was already struggling to survive during the recession. So there was no investment to continue the project, and this caused a chain of reactions with several lawsuits flying everywhere. Seeing as there were financial problems from the end of the project developer, the construction was suspended, and by that time, the spire was only completed to the foundation level. To make matters worse, Shelburne Corporation filed for bankruptcy, and this project that was supposed to rise into Chicago's skies only left a large hole in the ground. 3 years later, the site was taken over by another construction company, and plans to build 2 stair-like skyscrapers as high as 267 meters and 233 meters were in motion. So maybe there is still hope that Chicago's former skyline site will not just be a hole in the ground forever. Number 2. The world's largest dome. This was Adolf Hitler's plan to construct the largest dome ever known in the entire world. We all know Hitler for his cruel acts, but other than that, Hitler also made the most insane plans to build the biggest architectural project in the world. An example was the planned capital city of Germania and its most important building, the Great Hall. Berlin was supposed to become the capital city of Hitler's new world named Germania. Hitler made plans to reorganize the city along a central 15-kilometer-long boulevard starting from the north to the south, and it would cross over with east-west axis in Berlin. The Great Hall was supposed to be right at the north end of this new central axis. The sketches for this large dome structure were outlined by Adolf Hitler himself. Who would have thought that the Nazis would know architecture? Sometime in the 1920s, Hitler visited the Pantheon in Rome, and this sparked his plan to create something larger and more impressive. The dome would rise as high as 290 meters and was said to be 250 meters wide, making it the most prominent building on the continent. Inside the Great Hall would fit an estimated 150,000 people all at once. But in the end, the Great Hall, alongside other plans of Hitler's, crashed with the defeat of the Nazis in 1945. Number 1. The spherical version of the pyramids. Last but not least, we are going back in time to the 18th century of France. This mega project was said to be a memorial for one of the world's most incredible scientists, Sir Isaac Newton. A French architect known as Louis Boulle proposed this project as a homage to Isaac Newton's scientific contributions, and it was aiming to be the world's first dome planetarium. The spherical structure would be a 150-meter high creation that would even be higher than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Louis Boulle would dot the interior part of the structure with tiny holes which would reflect the positions of both the constellations and the planets of the world. At night, a large spherical lamp would shine and illuminate the structure. It would also look like the sun was placed in the middle of the universe, created by the arrangements of the holes in the structure. However, just like other amazing projects that were mentioned, this spherical pyramid was not doable at the time, so the creation only remained an incredible idea that never came to life. Well, that wraps up our look into the craziest mega projects that never happened. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. See you at the next one.